Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating set of places lined up today. 7 locations from around the world that are, well, said to be haunted.
Yeah.
Quite the collection.
So our goal here is to dive into these stories, pull out the most interesting bits, and give you a clear picture of why these places have such spooky reputations.
Like a shortcut to the world's most famous haunts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Consider this your express tour. Okay, so where should we start with this collection you've gathered?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, how this whole idea of haunted places pops up in so many cultures across different times.
It really is. Makes you wonder what drives that curiosity, that belief that maybe bits of the past just linger.
Some kind of echo.
Right. And our first stop, fittingly, is pretty imposing. The Tower of London.
Ah, yes. Goes way back, 1078.
And it's definitely seen its share of history, a lot of it quite grim, as your sources point out. Bloodshed, royal intrigue.
And those famous beheadings, of course. Can't forget those. No, you can't. And that feeds right into one of the biggest legends, doesn't it? Anne Boleyn.
Indeed. Henry VIII's second wife. The story is her ghost wanders the tower.
Holding her head.
That's the legend, yeah. Carrying her severed head. It's a powerful image, speaks volumes about, tragedy, maybe unresolved issues.
Definitely gives you chills just thinking about it. And that motif, the beheaded figure, especially her, it sort of points to anxieties about power, silencing people.
Yeah, it's deeply embedded in the tower symbolism in English history.
But it's not just these, historical figures. Your info also mentions more immediate experiences.
Right, things people report now, like seeing strange shadows just out of the corner of their eye.
And hearing footsteps when no one's there, or those sudden icy chills that just feel wrong, unnatural.
Exactly. So it's more than just an old pile of stones. It feels like the history itself is somehow still present for some people.
The sheer weight of all that drama, ambition, betrayal, executions.
It's like those intense emotions left a kind of imprint, maybe, on the building itself, like a recording that never quite got erased.
Interesting way to think about it. Okay, so from the tower stone walls, let's shift gears. We're going to Japan, to Aokigahara Forest.
Right, at the base of Mount Fuji.
A beautiful place, but with a really tragic side. It's often called the
Suicide Forest, yeah, a very somber reputation.
And what your sources say about the atmosphere there is striking.
It's the silence, apparently. Not just quiet, but this really deep, oppressive silence that's described almost like it hums. It sounds deeply unsettling.
Yeah, a quiet that feels heavy, like it's full of unspoken sorrow.
And then there are the other strange reports.
Like compasses going haywire?
Locals believe compasses malfunction there, which would be incredibly disorienting in a dense forest.
And maybe even scarier, people hearing whispers when they know they're completely alone.
It paints this picture, like your sources suggest, of a place where spirits maybe don't find rest. They just linger in this sort of sad echo.
Makes you wonder if all that concentrated tragedy has somehow charged the place.
Well, the compass thing might have natural explanations, magnetic deposits or something. But culturally, it feeds into that feeling of being lost. Spiritually, maybe, not just physically.
Right. The reputation itself probably amplifies any weird feeling or sound.
Definitely. It raises that question. Can intense suffering actually leave a mark on a location? Aokigahara, with its history and its dense, confusing layout, is certainly fertile ground for those beliefs.
Okay, next up we cross the Pacific, Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia.
Ah, yes. A very different kind of place.
Your sources mention its design was pretty unique and quite severe.
Extremely severe. The whole philosophy was solitary confinement pushed to the absolute limit. Complete silence, minimal contact. The idea was to force penitence.
Wow. Intense.
And now, long after it closed, that brutal history seems to be echoing in all the paranormal claims.
And those claims are classic ghost stuff, aren't they? Cell doors slamming.
Yep, ghostly wails echoing down the cell blocks.
And those shadow figures that investigators sometimes say they catch on camera, it's definitely a hotspot for ghost hunters.
It really is. And what's fascinating is that recurring idea you mentioned, spirits still serving their time, even after death.
Like the isolation and suffering somehow trapped something there.
That's the implication, isn't it? The reported activity often mirrors the prison's function, slamming doors, cries of despair. It suggests a connection between past experiences and present phenomena.
From a stark prison to something maybe more elegant but still haunted, Château de Brissac in France.
A beautiful castle, yes, but with a violent story at its heart.
And that story revolves around the Green Lady.
That's the one. Classic tale, really. A noblewoman, caught by her husband, murdered in a jealous rage. These intense personal tragedies often fuel ghost legends.
Her appearances sound pretty terrifying, wandering the halls.
In a tattered green dress, yeah.
Yeah.
And the detail about her face being disfigured.
Oof. That's grim. Plus the sounds, the soft crying, like pure grief just echoing.
It really paints a picture of her final moments, doesn't it? And your sources add that detail about her presence being stronger higher up in the tower.
Yeah, that's specific. Why do you think that is?
Could be anything, really.
Mm.
Maybe that's where the murder happened. Or maybe it's just a detail that got added to the story over time, makes it creepier, more focused.
Could be. Okay, now for something totally different. Poveglia Island in Italy.
Right, and this isn't just one building we're talking about.
No, it's the whole island, an entire abandoned island with a terrible history.
Extremely grim. First, it was a quarantine zone for plague victims. Massive amounts of death.
Just awful.
And then later, it was used as an insane asylum. So you have this layering of mass death, suffering, mental anguish. It creates this powerful sense of dread around the place.
And it sounds like the locals really feel it. They refuse to go near it.
Reportedly, yes.
Yeah.
Even fishermen steer clear of the waters around it. It tells you something about the strength of the local belief, the fear.
And the reported stuff screams from empty buildings, figures in windows, just reinforces that dark vibe.
And there's that really disturbing claim your sources mention about the soil itself.
Oh yeah, that it's mixed with human ashes from all the bodies burned there during the plague.
If that's true, I mean, talk about a visceral connection to the past.
Yeah.
The very ground holding the remnants of all that suffering, it definitely fuels the haunted reputation.
Okay, moving on. Penultimate stop, India, Bhangarh Fort in Rajasthan.
The cursed ruins. Another place with a strong sense of ancient mystery.
And the main legend involves a sorcerer.
That's right. A sorcerer's curse, apparently triggered by a love spell gone wrong or rejected love, something like that.
Yeah.
It adds this layer of, folklore, maybe even intentional malevolence to the haunting.
What really stands out, though, is the official stance. The government forbids people staying there after sunset.
Yeah, that's quite striking. No lights, no guards overnight, just the ruins in the dark.
And the sounds people report, women crying, chanting, it's incredibly atmospheric. Plus, that mention of a palpable darkness, like it's more than just night falling.
That official restriction definitely gives weight to the local legends. Sure, there might be practical safety reasons for a ruin at night, but the complete lack of infrastructure combined with the stories.
It feeds the idea that something genuinely negative or dangerous happens there after dark.
Exactly. That palpable darkness sounds like something beyond just the physical absence of light, maybe a psychological effect of the place and its reputation.
All right, our final location on this tour, the Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana.
Back in the U.S. And this place seems particularly crowded with spirits.
Yeah, your sources mention a claim of at least 12 documented ghosts. That's a lot.
It suggests the place just saturated with history and likely a lot of trauma and unresolved stories given its plantation past.
And the most famous ghost seems to be Chloe, a former enslaved woman.
Her story is incredibly tragic, as detailed in your sources. Hanged for poisoning, reportedly.
And she's seen wearing a turban, sometimes just watching from behind curtains, like she's still observing.
It's a chilling image, isn't it? That quiet observer. And the detail about hearing hushed lullabies adds another layer of profound sadness.
That phrase your source used really stuck with me. If walls could talk, these would scream.
That perfectly captures it, the sheer weight of suffering those walls might contain. Chloe's story, like others there, points to the brutal realities of the past and how trauma can seem to cling to a place.
Wow. So that's 7 locations. We've covered a lot of ground, explored some really diverse places, all thanks to the info you brought together. It's clear these are more than just campfire tales.
Exactly. The recurring thread seems to be unresolved trauma, violent ends, intense emotions. It's almost like these powerful events leave behind.
Yeah.
Well, we called it an echo before. A residue that people perceive.
Yeah. Whether you believe in literal ghosts or not, the stories themselves are trying to process the past, its weight on the present.
It makes you think about memory, doesn't it? Individual memory, collective memory, and how places might absorb those imprints, the pain, the injustice. Maybe that's the energy fueling these legends.
And this deep dive, well, it's really just scratched the surface, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There are countless places like these all over the world. It points to this universal human fascination with the unexplained, our need to find reasons, often by looking back at what happened before.
So it leaves us, and you, the listener, with a question to ponder. What do you think really causes these persistent legends? Is it all psychological, tied to the history?
Or could there be something more? Something we don't quite grasp yet about places and memory and maybe even energy.
Perhaps digging into a location that intrigues you might offer some clues. Think about that relationship between memory, place, and the stories we tell.